What's happening, everybody? Weekly Word, episode 159. How ironic that I just finished a 59-minute 6-mile run. It's the first time that I've ran 6 miles at sub 10 minutes in a long time, and it felt so good, and it felt really damn good. I'm sorry I just cursed because I'm excited to be able to reflect during that run. Man, I have got to tell you, the weekly word is vulnerable, or vulnerability, and embracing your vulnerabilities and being vulnerable and all that is. And it might sound like some touchy-feely stuff, but hear me out. I have never in my life been more emotionally, physically, socially vulnerable than I have been in the past 6 months. Thanks to the Ainsley's Angels family, the Travis Mannion Foundation, Camille Miner, Values in Action, my fellow cohort members in the Spartan Leadership Program, my wife, and some really close friends, my dad, many that I've had conversations with in the past 6 months. Even the Marines at Marine Corps Detachment Dam Neck is talking about character with them, and talking to character about Briley and our friends. Physically vulnerable. Accepting the fact that, I'm 45, not 21. And being vulnerable enough to say physically that my body needs a little extra help. Going to a doctor and saying, I feel like I'm broken here, or I need some mending here. That's vulnerable. To go to a doctor and admit that you are, quote, hurting or weak or injured is you being vulnerable. And that can yield amazing things. In my case, it yielded a referral to physical therapy. It yielded a referral for dry needling. It yielded me talking about dry needling's effects and how good they were, which has led to me having some acupuncture coming up soon. And it's also led to a referral to a massage therapist that just did amazing work yesterday for 2 hours on a lot of my physical ailments in my legs and back and things. So by being physically vulnerable and embracing it and admitting it, it yielded amazing things. Socially vulnerable. I've been making a concerted effort, which I've done this for years, but really making a concerted effort to wave at people when they drive by or walk by, or to say hello to people. That's vulnerable because you don't know how they're going to respond. I mean, I've always loved to smile at people just as a way of greeting them. But so many times, though, they don't smile back. They don't wave back. They act like they don't see you. But and you can allow that to affect you. They can allow that to make it to where you won't do it anymore. And if everybody doesn't wave or smile, then eventually nobody has that happening. And suddenly we lose that human connection and quality. So being vulnerable socially, to wave, to smile, to say hello, to talk openly about some vulnerable moments in my life. Or should I say challenges that I had to overcome, or that taught me life lessons. Emotional vulnerability and conversations that my wife and I have had, that even after over 20 years of marriage, there's things that we're discussing now that maybe we never really have. Whether that's about us, about each other, about Ainsley, about our kids, about our ambitions for the future. Emotionally vulnerable is saying I love you. Emotionally vulnerable is not knowing if they're going to respond back. Emotionally vulnerable is sharing with somebody something very kind of guarded, or something you hold close, and sharing it with them, maybe even crying in their presence, is you being vulnerable because you don't know how they're going to respond. Are they going to laugh at you? Are they going to judge you? Not letting that reaction of others impact your ability to embrace your vulnerability. 9 times out of 10 has been my experience that when I've been vulnerable over the past 6 months, it has yielded others being vulnerable, and others in turn discovering things about themselves that they had not known. It's mended relationships. It's brought peace and calmness by reaching out to someone who you may not have spoken with or to for years, and just telling them that you're thinking about them, and telling them that if I ever offended you or did something to upset you, I'm sorry. And that wasn't my intention, and that if they also did something to me that made me feel that way, that I accept their apology before they even give it to me. and then I'm texting you or reaching out to you today with no expectation that you're even going to acknowledge my communication, because I'm doing this for my healing, and I'm not going to allow others to have a voice in my head anymore. That voice in my head is going to be all the good things that represent my 24 character strengths and my work towards balancing all of them, from honesty to forgiveness to appreciation of beauty and kindness. Vulnerability, man. Just by being vulnerable and acting upon it, so many amazing things happen. Physically vulnerable, emotionally vulnerable, socially vulnerable. That's a long weekly word. 5 minutes and 55 seconds to mark my weekly word 159. Thanks, y'all. Be vulnerable.